my family actually went through a pretty big trauma about a year and a half ago. And that was another turning point where I was just like, holy crap, like this is really hard. Because then I was in this position where I was solo parenting two traumatized children while traumatized myself. And at that point, I had been doing a lot of the work that I now teach other people how to do. And I'm grateful for that, because I think if I were burnt out before the trauma happened, I would have been in a much worse position. But it just really drove it home that, I need to put on my own oxygen mask.
Welcome to the Radiant Mom Rising, the podcast that's all about celebrating and empowering the incredible, hardworking mothers out there. I'm your host, Mary Dibble. I'm on a mission to equip you with the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to conquer the challenges of motherhood and life, all while embracing your radiant self. Join us each week for amazing guest interviews, relatable stories, and a whole lot of fun. We're here to create a vibrant, supportive community where we can be our authentic selves, where no one feels alone, and where we uplift and cheer each other on along this incredible journey of motherhood. So, fellow Radiant Moms, get ready to rise, shine, and conquer the world. Let's grow together, laugh together, and make every week a celebration of the powerful, radiant moms we are. This is Radiant Mom Rising, and you're part of a community where your brilliance shines through. Are you ready to rise with us? Let's get started. I want to share about my upcoming in-person networking event I will be hosting at Crafted in Morganton on April 25th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you who live in Burke County area and are mom entrepreneurs looking to make some connections and possible opportunities for collaborations, or just to gain some fresh insights or feedback, I'd like to invite you to come join me and other fellow moms for a glass of wine and some support. There are limited spaces, so click the link in the show notes to learn more and sign up today. Also, for you moms who are aspiring to become an entrepreneur or looking for some fresh perspectives, energy, and support, I'm also going to be hosting a workshop on May 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a special guest to help you gain some clarity around your unique purpose and talk about some important aspects to think about when starting a business and growing it. It's going to be fun, and there's going to be some great value in this experience. So sign up for my free Entrepreneur Mastery Guide and get on our wait list so we can keep you updated. In today's episode, we dive deep into the journey of self-discovery and healing, exploring the keys to unlocking your full potential as a mother. Get ready to learn how to prioritize yourself amidst the chaos, seek support, set boundaries, and embrace the messy yet beautiful journey of motherhood. Whether you're facing traumas or simply striving to put yourself first, this episode is packed with actionable insights and inspiration to help you on your path to empowerment. Our guest, Angela Dube, is a licensed marriage and family therapist and certified clinic coach living in Salem, Oregon. She works remotely as a therapist specializing in therapy for children, adolescents, and parents for clients in California and Oregon, and as a mom burnout coach worldwide. She is passionate about supporting herself and her clients in optimizing mental health and well-being so that we can raise a great next generation of kids. So sit back, relax, and get ready to embark on another transformative journey with us.
I'm here with Miss Angela Dube. How are you doing, Miss Angela? Thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi, yes, thank you. It's good to be here, and I'm doing well. A little harried from the morning school drop-offs, but I'm here.
Oh, I hear you. And first of all, you said drop-offs. Tell us, how many kids do you have?
Yeah, so I have two kids. My oldest is 7 and in first grade, and my youngest is turning 5 in about a month. So yeah, just wrapped up the crazy flurry of the morning.
Oh, yes, I know all that. So I understand. Well, it's so wonderful to have you here with me today. And I'd love for you to share more about yourself, your story, and a little bit of your journey and what's led you to do what you do today.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, background in my career is that I'm a therapist. So I've been doing this. I've been working as a child therapist specifically for over 10 years now, and also doing parent coaching with that process. And, it was just kind of interesting because I started doing that work before I was a mom. And, it's funny. I like to joke that like I have a master's degree in parenting because I had to learn all of this stuff with my psychology background. And I was literally coaching parents on how to support their kids with their emotions and big feelings and tantrums and getting through routines and impulsivities and all of these things before I actually had kids of my own. And when I became a mom, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, I don't think there was any amount of training and experience I could have gone through that would have prepared me for just how challenging motherhood is. And, like looking back, I absolutely had like postpartum depression, probably some postpartum anxiety or OCD as well. I was not in a good place in those early years. It was a struggle. And I think also like having that experience and having that struggle has in some ways made me a better therapist, kind of just giving this extra layer of insight on what's going on with families and how hard it can be. And over the time in my career, my focus has really shifted from working with kids to working more with moms. And I think partially that's because of my own experience, my own struggles with parenting, and likewise, just what I've seen with my clients. And what I've seen over and over and over again with my clients, but also with myself and my own family, my own children, is that when the parents are doing well emotionally, the kids thrive. It's not as simple as saying, here, come help my kid. It's no, how we need help for us too. And moms in particular, I feel like have just been socialized in our society to give, and not really get anything for themselves or do anything for themselves. Like we are taught to sacrifice ourselves to take care of our families, to have a career, to keep a clean house, like all of the things. We have so much pressure and there's not enough time to do all of these things. But that pressure to do all of those things and neglect ourselves, like it's crazy making. It runs us into the ground. It puts us on empty. Yeah, it's impossible. And it's a recipe for a mental health crisis. So anyway, that's in a nutshell what has brought me on to this path, to this place where I'm now offering coaching programs for moms to really help dial in their wellness and, figure out what their priorities are in life and focus on those unapologetically without the guilt and just let everything else go because we just can't do it all.
Right. And
Right.
I love where you're right. That's so ingrained in so many of us women that's the way to be. That's the way to be.
Mhm.
That makes you a good mom. That kind of is what
Yep.
makes your identity. And it's so unfair, especially now in today's world where moms are now, it's like, back in the day, it's like moms just got to be moms at home. That's hard
Yeah.
enough in the job. And now we're expected to work and provide and take care of the kids in the household and everything else. I mean, that like how did it get so twisted?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think there's even another layer with the internet. And don't get me wrong, I feel like the internet is a wonderful tool and so much has come out of it. And it has just added another layer of pressure of, oh, look at those Instagram perfect houses with everything perfectly clean. And it's like, my house doesn't look like that. My house looks like a tornado just went through.
Right.
And I don't think it's changing anytime soon. Try as I might, it's not going to change. And then all of the parenting advice that's out there that is conflicting there's some really great information on the one hand, and it's so wonderful to have all these tools and resources at our fingertips. And at the same time, it's just so much pressure to have this unattainable vision of the perfect home, the perfect family, the perfect mother, all of the things.
Yes, absolutely. And it's that pressure that leads so many moms into giving up on themselves, into depression, into all these things. And that's what we are working here to do for so many of you, is to help you to get past that and learn how to really tap into your intuition, because it's really about what works for you and your family. And you don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't owe anybody. Yes, there's family members, even friends, that have their judgments and have their opinions, and, fine, but you're entitled to it, but you're entitled to your own too. You need to live life in a way that makes you happy, makes you feel good. It's all about taking care of yourself in order to take care of everybody else, because that's how it should be. It's like, oh, take care of everybody first, and then I'll take care of myself. No, because half the time you get forgot about and neglected. Yep. And that's how it always is. So when you go out there and you meet moms, and you see that they're going through certain situations like that, where they are self-sabotaging, self-sacrificing themselves, like, what is something that you say to them, help them in getting started? Like, what's your first groundwork with them when they come and work with you?
Yeah. So when moms come to work with me, I meet them where they are. Everybody's kind of in a different place and kind of having a different need. But I help them start to get clear on what they're needing to prioritize first, right? So each person, again, needs something different, but I help them tap into that. I ask questions. I ask open questions. I use meditation techniques and journaling prompts to just kind of help them get quiet so they can listen to themselves a little bit more, because we're all running around so crazy and we're all so busy that we don't have the space to listen to what we're needing. So I guess that is what it is. My first thing is recommending that people find a way to get quiet, and that's going to look different for each person, whether it's getting more sleep, whether it's laying in bed with a book, whether it's going for a hike and being out in nature, right? But each person knows what's going to feel best to them, and getting more of that, finding ways to carve out that time, even if it just starts with 5 minutes of getting outside and going for a walk, literally leaving your kid in a safe spot and walking outside and closing the door, like wherever you can carve out these moments is a good place to start. And then you build on it from there, right? Like we can find ways to set up systems to make it more sustainable and a normal part of your daily existence over time.
Great advice. Wonderful advice. And something that we're more than capable of doing. And so it doesn't have to be this complex, like major changes right off the back that will make you feel that pressure of like, how am I going to do this? It's more like there's really small baby step, realistic things that you can start doing now, and it will grow because you're going to love it. You're going to realize how amazing it is when you give yourself that time and that space to really learn more about who you are and what you want out of life. I feel like that's probably something that's becoming more and more profound and more recognized nowadays, is that we're ready. We moms, especially as you get a little bit older, you kind of get to the point where you're like, wait, what about me? Like I'm a person too. Life passing me by. I'm ready to live life the way I want to. Why not? Like, why can't that be me? Why can't I have that success? Why can't I have what I want? And I love it because, this is what we're here for, is to help you to tap into that more and more for yourself, so you can figure that out for yourself, so you can live a life that you deserve and stop living in this hamster wheel of like the same, of chaos and overwhelm and burnt out. So I think it's fantastic. I meet such incredible women like you and so many others who are out there trying to help so many people get through that. So what was it like for you in your journey as a mom that was that defining moment, you would say, where you got that realization from being pulled in that postpartum that you were struggling with? Like, what turning point was it for you where you realized you needed the help? And then kind of tell us a little bit about like what kind of steps you took for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So, in terms of the turning point, I think for me, it did require kind of hitting rock bottom a couple of times, unfortunately. Um, I think, first of all, I think the pandemic was a huge wake up call for me of just like the world screeching to a halt. And I was working as a therapist. So I was still in it. Like the world did not come to a stop for me. I still was there processing everything I was going through, everything my family was going through, and still having to show up for other people in, a really big way and be that kind of center point. So it just made it all the more obvious of like how much I needed to take care of myself to get through that, to show up for my clients and my family in a healthy way. And then the second one was that, my family actually went through a pretty big trauma about a year and a half ago. And that was another turning point where I was just like, holy crap, like this is really hard. Because then I was in this position where I was solo parenting two traumatized children while traumatized myself. And at that point, I had been doing a lot of the work that I now teach other people how to do. And I'm grateful for that because I think if I were burnt out before the trauma happened, I would have been in a much worse position. But it just really drove it home that I need to put on my own oxygen mask. I can't, I literally cannot give anything to my kids when I am totally on empty, totally traumatized and just have just have nothing. Right. So, that was just it was just a very interesting experience to go through something that I have supported so many of my clients go through when they've been through traumas, and how to support traumatized children through awful things, like how to help them heal. And the reality is we can't do that as parents if we are not healed ourselves. So this is also part of why this work feels so dear to my heart of just like, if we're not well, our kids aren't well. Full stop. Like there's no way around it. And I know moms in particular, there's so many of us who really want to do such a good job with parenting. Like this is so important to us. And it's exactly why we run ourselves into the ground, is because we want to raise great kids. We want to give them everything. We want them to have all the opportunities. And I think, and at the same time, it's just so misguided that like running ourselves into the ground is doing harm to our children. And I don't say that with any like shame or blame. Like we are socialized to believe that we need to run ourselves into the ground to raise great kids. But it actually does the exact opposite. It causes anxiety and stress and defiance and all sorts of things. Like when we can slow down and really take care of our own wellness, it really helps our kids do well as well.
Attention, hardworking moms. Are you ready to kickstart your journey to a thriving online business? Introducing Learn and Earn Profits Online Max, a groundbreaking digital resale course that's revolutionizing success. Learn how to create your own funnel and sell this exact course, pocketing a whopping 100% of the profits. Yes, you heard that right, 100% yours. Lipo Max is an enhanced platform packed with incredible modules and valuable insights designed to elevate your online business game. Don't miss this chance to join a supportive community where hard work meets exceptional opportunities. Say goodbye to the hassle of creating courses from scratch. Lipo Max does the heavy lifting for you, empowering you to learn and earn in an environment tailored for your success. Act fast and secure your spot in this game-changing program and set yourself up for a prosperous life. Join the Lipo Max community today. Click on the link in the show notes to learn more or contact me today with any questions.
The second part of your question was, kind of what I did. And, I think a big part of it was just kind of what I mentioned a little bit ago of finding space for myself to slow down, asking for help, even, I think I've always been kind of the person who feels like I have to do it all by myself and that I'm on my own. And, I've got to I got to figure it out. And, when that trauma happened, there was a lot of shame around that experience. And I literally just got on the phone with people immediately, even though I felt ashamed. And I called people. I said, this is what happened. Pause so they could have their big feelings and reaction, wait for them to get it out of their system. And I said, okay, this is what I need from you. And like very, very specifically, I leaned on the people that I knew I was going to need to lean on, or that my kids were going to need to lean on, and was just very direct of, this is what happened. This is what I need from you. Okay. I'm going to go now. It's part of it was where I was is I knew I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to have them have their emotional reactions with me. Right. So this is also, kind of another layer of what I try and support moms with too, is boundaries, knowing what you need help with, but also knowing where you need to draw the boundary. And it doesn't mean that we don't love these people in our lives, but maybe we just can't. Maybe we just don't have it in us right now to do certain things for these people in our lives right now. And that's okay. It's okay to set a boundary. It's okay to disengage if you're needing to disengage to take care of yourself first. We don't have to take care of everybody else at the sacrifice for ourselves.
I agree with that. And I think that's something I see so much with a lot of the women, is that feeling of, you got to do this alone. You got to figure this out. You can't let somebody see your vulnerability. You can't let somebody see, in your opinion, with seeing that and yourself as well. Where do you think that kind of stems from for so many of us, and why we feel that way? Like we're not allowed to ask for help.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think part of it is that as women, we are socialized to take care of other people. So that in some ways, I think kind of gets in the way of asking for help. If we are the ones who are responsible for taking care of other people, who's responsible for taking care of us? We are, or no one. So that's definitely part of it. And I would say each one of us have had our own individual experiences where maybe we've been let down or didn't get what we needed specifically. And yeah, it's a good question. And that's what's coming up for me on the top of my head. I'm sure I could think more.
I'm sure with each of us, there is our own experiences, our own reasoning. But I think that you're right. You hit it on the ball with that. Actually, that's like an overall defining reasoning, is that we are taught so much to take care of everybody else. So we automatically assume that means we have to also just kind of figure it out for ourselves as well. Or like I said, I feel like sometimes it makes us feel like it makes us weak, or we're going to be seen as weak, or maybe we're going to be judged for it. And that scares us and how people might respond if we open up and be vulnerable and share. But let me tell you something that's so beautiful about doing that. It almost is that true saving grace that so many of us need. And that's why I really want to encourage anybody out there right now who's listening, who is afraid to talk or ask for help or to seek someone else to lean on. I encourage you to face that fear and do it anyways, because this is exactly what you need. And it's going to be the thing that helps to start turning it around for you, to help you start really reframing it. And a lot of times just getting it out there and leaning on certain people will help you to understand for yourself how to do just that. It's crazy, the stuff that the revelations we get from just talking to other people. And sometimes they don't even have to say a word back. You just start talking, and the next thing you know, like, oh, you know what? I didn't even think about this, because there's power in talking and sharing and getting that out here. And that's why anybody listening, I would just really encourage you, if you have something on your heart or struggling in some way, reach out to somebody, reach out to someone that you can turn to, that you can talk to, whether it be even a therapist or a coach. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, somebody that you just feel you can trust and let it out. I think that's great.
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned that I do want to touch upon is the fear of being judged. And that is a very real fear. And it is a risk of asking for help. I think there are a lot of judgmental opinions out there in our society, and it often comes from a lack of understanding. It's not necessarily ill-intentioned, but yeah, people judge.
Yeah.
It's just something that happens. And, in terms of the trauma I had gone through a year and a half ago, I was judged pretty harshly by a couple of my really close friends that I had leaned on for emotional support. And, I think part of it is I think I may have leaned on them a little bit too much emotionally, where, maybe it would have been more appropriate for me to lean more on a therapist or a coach at that time. Because I think also it is important to recognize that other people have their boundaries and can only take so much too, right? Like it is a balance of asking for help, leaning on others for support, but also knowing what person can handle what and making appropriate asks and, kind of getting consent to some degree of like, hey, this is what I'm needing. Does this feel okay with you? Or getting professional help where you need it. This is why there are therapists and coaches is they are trained professionals. We are trained professionals to help people with these hard things that happen in life. Because, the difference between asking a friend or a family member for help and asking a therapist or a coach for help is that a friend or a family member is so intimately invested in your well-being that anything that you're going through emotionally is going to hit them harder than it's going to hit someone that you have more distance from. And again, and someone who has the training of how to support people through these really big things. Not everybody has this kind of training. And when they are, kind of hit with big things, it's overwhelming and they get flooded, they get traumatized seriously, right? So it is all a balance and there is help. It's just knowing who to ask for what from. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. And yes, definitely something depending on the situation and where you're at. It's really important to recognize who's the best resource to reach out to with that. Like you say, there's so many out there. There's so many great people and finding the one that really resonates with you. I've had therapists that I've tried that I didn't like, who didn't, I feel like, understand what I was coming through and things like that. And that's okay because I at least tried it. And then if it didn't work out, no worries. There's so many out there. There's so many other ones that you might feel connected with and who might show up for you in a way you need them to through that season. So yes, I think that's a great, great message as well. And tell us that, is there anything else as far as your journey and your experience with this that you'd like to share for anyone listening, just to kind of inspire them and keep them going?
Yeah, I guess just, kind of final thoughts on that is like, it's worth it to put in the time to really prioritize yourself on so many levels. We are all deserving to be happy and healthy and live lives that we love rather than lives that we feel like we have to get through every day. And, the best benefit of all of this is that it really is the true secret to raising great kids is when we put in that work. And it doesn't yes, it can be hard, but it doesn't have to be as hard as I think a lot of people think it is. Again, it's just baby steps in the right direction that build over time, right? It's not, it's not doing it perfectly immediately. It's a journey. It's a process. And we get there. We find our way. We find our footing.
Yeah, I like that you said about that because it's true. It's a long life journey, honestly. You're always going to have to learn and grow and improve all the time. And that's okay. And it's just a matter of getting started. I think it's the hardest part for so many of us. And like you say, we put this expectation on that, it needs to happen overnight, or if it doesn't, or if it doesn't go our way, it's like we're failures, or, okay, I guess I'm not good enough for it. And you're so wrong. It's out there. It's ready for you. You just got to keep going and just showing up for yourself, for sure. That's great. I love it. And for those who are listening, who would be interested in learning more about you, following you, where can they find you?
Yeah. So I am most active on Facebook. So if you just search my name, Angela Dube, Dube, or Hey Coach Angela, you will find me. I also have a Facebook group where I have a sweet little community of mamas who are really working on putting themselves first and taking care of themselves, where I do free weekly trainings. And that is called Self-Care Mamas with Angela. And anyone is welcome to join me there as well. I have a website, but I'm not the best at keeping it updated, but that is selfcareparenting.com. You can at least get in touch with me through there, but all the information might not be perfectly up to date. But I do have some free resources on there as well.
It's been amazing talking with you today. I love what you're doing for moms out there and what you're doing for yourself. And I also would love I had it on my mind and my heart to ask a little bit about with particularly in the fact that you have helped kids and parenting dealing with trauma. Is there anything in particular about that situation that you've seen that's helped a lot of your clients, as far as I understand that you got to do the work on yourself and get your healing? But is there anything else as far as just an overall inspirational message to someone who's dealing with specific traumas in their life right now that you would like to add up? Final saying, because I just think that's an important thing that we didn't really hit on, is the fact that there's people out there, we all have things we go through, but trauma is another thing in itself. And so I just didn't know if you had anything specifically that you just want to say to them.
Yeah, I guess what I really want to say in terms of that is that it can get better. People heal, people grow. And what we know about the brain and neuroscience is that we can all create new pathways in our brains. So even when horrible things happen in our lives, it doesn't mean that everything's over. It means, this is a hard season. I'm going to need a little bit extra support. Things are going to get a little messy, and it can get better. And in a lot of ways right now, my life is still messy, and I'm very happy. I feel like, my kids have healed beautifully from the trauma we went through. I've done a lot of healing. I think with my personal experience with trauma, and I've seen this with my clients as well, is that it can really propel us into another layer of growth, and there can be some really beautiful growth that comes from horrible things. I feel like there's a quote that I saw somewhere, and I'm going to butcher it, so I apologize. But something along the lines of, the most beautiful flowers grow from compost rather than, it is messy, it is dirt, it is manure. Sometimes the most beautiful things come out of the worst things. So I just want to remind everyone out there that it can and will get better. Small, consistent steps towards your own healing, getting support, getting help, you'll get there.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. And I love that whole messy thing, because I think that's another thing that so many need to understand. Like, getting out there and being messy with it is like the best way it's really the only way to be, because you learn the most with that. And it's okay to go out there and be messy when getting started with certain things and just learning as you go. It's okay to be messy. I love that. It's so fun actually being messy, because the pressure is not that much there. It's like you get to just kind of, just show up. It's you, and people will like that. You'll find the right people for you when you just be real.
Exactly.
So yes. Yeah. Angela, you're such a sweetheart. And I just really enjoy your energy and your time with me today. So I am excited to see where you go and how you thrive, and all the amazing moms. I'm excited because I'm part of your group. Can't wait to learn from you and grow with you as well. So thank you again so much for joining me today on my podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful.
Here are the key takeaways from today's episode. Understand the importance of prioritizing your own well-being, even amidst the chaos of daily life. Don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's from friends, family, or professionals like therapists or coaches. It's essential to recognize when you need assistance and to reach out for it. Understand your own boundaries and respect them. It's okay to say no to certain demands on your time and energy, especially if it's necessary for your own self-care. Healing and self-improvement don't happen overnight. Embrace the journey and focus on making small, consistent steps towards your goals. Life can be messy, especially when dealing with traumas or difficult situations. Understand that growth often arises from challenging circumstances, and it's okay to navigate through the messiness of life. Know that things can and will get better with time, effort, and support. Stay optimistic and keep moving forward even when faced with adversity. Be sure to follow Angela on Facebook and grab her free resources to get the support you need on your journey. Lastly, be sure to share this episode with anyone you feel would benefit from listening. I can't thank you all enough for tuning in with me each week. Please be sure to leave me a 5-star review on Spotify or a review on Apple. Your feedback and support is much appreciated. Let us radiant moms continue to rise and live life to the fullest. Until next time, much love.